Hi, I'm Valerie Yosway.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Sabia.
And I'm Spring Williams.
Today we are talking about Dr. Sabia's new book, The Wellness Formula, what inspired him to write it, and how the information can benefit all of us. So if you could just, start from the beginning, where the idea from the book came from.
Absolutely. So, my name is Mike Sabia. I'm an anesthesiologist who specializes in treating patients' pain, a pain medicine expert at Cooper University Hospital, from the state of New Jersey, originally more from the northern side, Bergen County, Hackensack, Wayne, Ridgewood, previously known as Tony Soprano land. Came down to South Jersey a little over 20 years ago to do my training in anesthesia and really loved it. So decided to make a home for my wife Jenny, myself, and our two kids, Sebastian and Milana. And I really feel that modern healthcare has come leaps and bounds in treating acute care problems, critical illnesses, emergencies, even some chronic medical problems. But the inspiration really was founded on preventative care. Is there a routine or a formula or some type of structured way where we can live our day to prevent these problems? So as a physician, being at a level 1 trauma center at Cooper, we see so many patients critically ill. And there's always a question in my mind of, did it have to go down this path? Was there some routine, supplement, workout, way to sleep, way to manage stress that can maybe make this treatment problem that they're working through not as severe, an easier process, not as significant?
I love that you're focusing on prevention as opposed to most doctors. When we go to them, it's like, well, you can take this medicine or have this surgery. I think it's really important to have more doctors like yourself who are focusing on preventing these things from happening in the first place.
To try and come up with a structured formula for most of us, for the young, healthy teenager that can say, I started this regimen when I was young and it became ingrained in my brain. Now I know to go to bed at the same time is a healthier way. Not eating right before bed is going to help me sleep better, which will signal some repair processes of the brain. Or someone who's undergoing an illness and a treatment plan, it can help them feel better and not maybe suffer as many side effects for their treatment plan if they're exercising the way that feels right with their body, if they're avoiding excess sweets, if they're not watching a thriller right before bed that could interfere with their sleep.
You brought up a great point because with social media today, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's Facebook, there is just unlimited information out there. And unfortunately, there are even some healthcare professionals and doctors who are giving incorrect information. I know as a breast cancer survivor, there are doctors out there that basically talk bad about mammograms, which to me is crazy. I think they're so important, and I've talked to my own breast team and they all talk about the importance of mammograms. So I think people need to be really diligent in where they're getting their information. Social media can be great for certain things, but I think as far as getting your really important information about your health and what to do, what not to do, you have to be really careful about if it's somebody on TikTok telling you something. So what do you think about that?
Completely agree. That's the double-edged sword of social media and the internet availability right at arm's reach, that I recommend to start with fact-check everything that you see and read. So there's information out there, but the websites that are more accredited is more the National Institute of Health. So if you hear some information of people quoting a study, you can look on the NIH website that's free, even the CDC website, some reputable founded companies and programs that have been around for a while. So getting that first information from TikTok, from Facebook, from YouTube is good. And I honestly get a lot of new information that way. Where 25 years ago, it was all reading medical journals, the paper journals that would get delivered to the house, and you'd see what the new treatment plan was for XYZ condition. Now I'll use social media, but I'll fact check it on those websites within my American Society of Anesthesia, being an anesthesiologist, going through the pain management journals, if I'm following other doctors or providers on social media talking about new treatments for pain that I'm not aware of, it'll at least spark my interest and dig further. So I think social media is good, but don't take it as gospel as soon as you first see it. Do your own research, be your own advocate, and make sure you understand what they're saying and recommending, because it could be harmful if you're taking the wrong advice that's not personalized for you.
I agree, and the other thing that happens is it's not just that one person, and then they tell their mom and their sister, and they send it in a group chat, like, I found out mammograms are dangerous, and then you have a whole group of people, and then it's just this domino effect, and it's spreading, and now you have a whole bunch of people that think mammograms are dangerous, which can be detrimental.
100%. So mammography and mammograms are under this screening test, and there's lots of screening tests that have been proven to save lives by a lot of accreditation councils that have done the research. One being colonoscopy, mammograms, EKGs, things that can catch things before you're even symptomatic. So some of the bad press that people talk about with mammography is you get a little bit of radiation exposure, and that's true. But the physics of that have been ironed out, that we can measure that in a formula by a millisievert, and less than 1 millisievert is what you get from one mammogram, and that's about the same or a little bit less than if you go through the x-ray machine at the airport. If you fly coast to coast from New York to California, you get some gamma wave radiation just being above the clouds. So it can't be that pilots don't have an increased risk of cancer and they're flying all the time, but you can't do a mammogram once or twice a year. That really is hard to make common sense out of.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. So tell us what you focus on in the book. What are the main topics, the main giveaways that people can expect to learn from the book?
Yeah, so it's definitely designed to be an easy to follow day-to-day routine. What types of foods you should eat, as diet being one chapter. What type of workouts have been shown to help with metabolic rate or metabolism, since diabetes has some of the highest incidence of causing chronic disease, and now shown directly correlative of heart disease, which is the #1 killer in America. So we used to think it was all a cholesterol issue, or my bad cholesterol, my LDL is high, I'm going to have a heart attack. Now we know the impact of diabetes relating to the cause of heart disease has much more profound effects on the human body. So what foods can cause diabetes? What processed foods can lead to chronic inflammation? And how that can lead to things like cancer, diabetes, a lot of these chronic illnesses. The importance of sleep, and how the duration of sleep is important, but really the consistency shows us much more benefit, and how many things happen throughout the body and brain throughout sleep. So some doctors specialize in primary care, and then you can go on and be a subspecialist and be a pulmonary doctor, and after that you can do even another year of training and become a sleep specialist. So you can become a board certified sleep specialist. It's its own world in medicine, where you take exams, which has also had a lot of advancements, which I didn't know about in medical school. The lymphatic system is how maybe our bodies collect cells, and we can have lymphadenopathy or swollen lymph nodes when we have an infection or cancer. There's a glymphatic system that we weren't aware of. Then that's the cleaning process of the brain, that you have to enter certain parts of sleep, different phases of sleep, as well as REM sleep, which is when we dream. So there's a lot of new advances that I wasn't aware of in the 90s, which is when medical school was for me, that I wasn't aware of those processes and how important it was to enter these phases of sleep, and how diet played such a role on having our ability to focus, and daily exercise can do so much good throughout blood flow through the body.
All right, so Dr. Sabia, one of the things that you mentioned was preparing for traumas that none of us know are coming on the horizon. And one of the traumas that I had in 2019 was a breast cancer diagnosis. And at that time, I was a fitness professional training for a fitness competition, and I was really strong at one of my strongest points in my life physically. And because I had adequate sleep, a healthy diet, and a strong fitness routine, when I went through my diagnosis and when I was undergoing treatment with chemotherapy, I was able to wake up every morning and I would take the train over to Philadelphia and do a 60-minute spin class.
Wow.
And then I would come back over to New Jersey and do 90 minutes of Bikram yoga. And of course, when I had the side effects from the chemo, I did have my down days. But on the days that I was able to rebound from that, I had the strength to be able to move forward and clean out my system, and had the mental acuity to be able to continue to move and take care of my family.
That's incredible. Yeah, there's a lot in the research, more in the orthopedic surgery world, where patients who have a fracture in certain parts of their body have such a quicker healing response and regain mobility and strength when you start off healthier and strong. So that's wonderful that you were able to lead that lifestyle before the diagnosis, because that helped you get through a lot of the treatments. And it seems like you found some fulfillment and purpose of doing the yoga, doing the spin, instead of, if you have nothing to connect to and then you get a diagnosis, you have too much time to just think about it, where you still in your mind say, well, I gotta take that class, and if I don't do that class, I don't feel like I completed my day. So it gives you this sense of purpose, which also is part of the healing process, with your brain accepting, like, I'm still gonna do the things I like, and I'm gonna get through this this medical diagnosis that is just a name, but I'm gonna heal through this.
Yes.
And I know there was also a social aspect that was really important. Can
Absolutely.
you talk about that?
Yes, yes. So mental, physical, and emotional wellness, where this is all one body and we need to have all of those components. And being able to show up in class with people who look forward to me being there, and I look forward to being there with them, it felt good. It felt nice to be in a space with people who were well.
That's amazing, yeah. So it's back and forth throughout the world of who the longest living person is and how old they really are, but it's somewhere along the 1-teens, 115, 117, and the most important factor is being around friends and family. So loneliness is definitely a silent killer, as opposed to, this is the best diet that's going to make you live to 117. This is the perfect amount of hours to sleep that's going to make you live the longest. Partnership and community is the most important factor. So if you have that, where you can connect with people that maybe you can call your family, but they're not blood relatives, in a yoga community, in your spin class, that you know they genuinely are out for your best interests, that's going to keep you going, and not say, oh, I'm just going to stay in bed today. I have to see my friends, and they care for me, and they want to hear how my last treatment was.
And everybody's so busy anyway, just with life, kids, work, but especially when you're going through a cancer diagnosis, time is of the essence. You don't really have all this time to spare, and you do need some downtime as well. So I think if you can combine like the social support with the exercise and get that all at one time, it's just a win-win.
Yes, absolutely. So as a founder of Inspiring Life Together, one of the programs that we have is a sustainable lifestyle program. And everything that you just mentioned, Val, is a part of the program. There's a space for women to come together to move. We eat healthy foods together. We have conversations with one another, and it really is supportive of the mental, physical, and emotional health.
As an ILT volunteer, I have to say one of the things I appreciate the most is that your events are always fun. The food is a plus, but they really are fun, and there's always some different type of physical exercise that I've never done before, or maybe I've heard of it. What are the bounce shoes?
Rebound boots.
Rebound boots were, I mean, epic, very cool, and it just gives people options so they can try something that they might not have been exposed to before. I know many people have never heard of that before. Different types of yoga, even dance, fitness classes, and they're always uplifting. Like, not only are they informative, they're empowering. It's like, okay, some women are still battling breast cancer. Some are, taking, like myself, taking medication as part of my breast cancer treatment for the next 10 years. And so, like, we're all in a different part of our journey, but it doesn't matter which part of the journey we're on. Those events are really for everybody at every stage.
Right, yes. So, Dr. Sabia, you mentioned earlier about looking at breast cancer as more of a chronic condition. Thanks to just different clinical trials and research, we now have so many more advancements that are allowing us to live longer, healthier lives. We still do have to pay tribute to those, unfortunately, who are not here with us, but we are making progress. So can you speak to the progress that you've seen?
Absolutely, yeah. The biggest staple is probably minimally invasive technology that 20, 30 years ago, most patients underwent a complete mastectomy where that wasn't showing to lead to a better longevity or a lower recurrence of the cancer. We're able to really identify the exact region of the hot spot or the area of cell turnover that's going to possibly metastasize to different parts of the body. So a localized extraction of the tumor and saving the breast in conjunctive with radiation therapy and new advancements in chemotherapy, specifically immunotherapy, where your own immune system can be targeted to turn on a certain cell. So part of our immune system when we get sick, they get activated T cells, and that T cell can go to the area and try and conquer that virus or bacteria. So a similar form of immunotherapy that's from the outside exogenously can turn on a T cell and stop the replication of certain cells that are out of control, which is really the function of how cancer becomes a problem. Because we replicate cells every day, but when it's out of control, the body can't seem to suppress it once it goes through a certain phase.
I think it's also really important to mention that when somebody's diagnosed with cancer, it's really important for doctors to know this as well, that when you're talking to your patient, that it's important to not make it sound like it's a death sentence, to even just the way you word it, instead of saying, you have stage whatever cancer, saying this is a manageable chronic illness can change their whole mindset moving forward, which can actually change the way their body even goes through treatment, because your body and mind are connected. So I think that's amazing that you are spreading awareness of that, because that's super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So earlier, in speaking of the Sustainable Lifestyles program, another part of it is education. And I think this book provides a lot of good education, and I'm excited because we are going to be using this book to do a book study and looking at some of the themes in the book. The role of self-compassion.
Yes.
The role of self-compassion. Can I read this?
Absolutely.
So self-compassion is a key part of stress management. It involves being kind to yourself during moments of failure or difficulty. Instead of criticizing yourself for mistakes, self-compassion encourages patience, understanding, and emotional support. So this book, Val, we were looking at it earlier, and the way that it's outlined, it's so easy and simple to read, and it allows you to be able to dig into one section that you feel like is most important to you at that moment of time, and really focus on evolving and getting better at that particular place, and then you can move on. So I'm really looking forward to taking this and bringing this into Sustainable Lifestyles program.
Definitely, everybody is going to love this book. It's super easy to read. You can go to whichever section you need, and it's not like reading a medical textbook. That's what I love most about it. It's amazing. So if you could just quickly, if we could just go through the main topics in the book and just give us a quick blurb of, overall, what's the biggest takeaway about diet? Obviously, people will have to read the book to get all of the information, but if you could just give us some quick takeaways that are like the most important.
Definitely. So Diet specifically, I think we were taught for decades of how fat is bad and we should fear fat and that eating fat makes you fat. And that's only true for trans fats or processed foods. So the healthier fat, the monounsaturated fats like avocado, olive oil, salmon, fatty fishes are healthy. And the key with those is they're very satiating. So these diets that say, watch your caloric intake and eat this many calories, it's so hard because you have these hunger spikes if those calories are consistent of processed foods or foods derived from fructose, which is a sugar, which is in fruit and honey, and that's the natural form, but the processed part of it is high fructose corn syrup, which is in so many foods, even things like ketchup and breads and things that can sit on the shelf for a while. And that has been proven to cause an insulin spike. So insulin is the hormone that negates the effects of when your blood glucose goes up, and that really makes most of us hungry. So it becomes very difficult to say it's mind over matter, I'm just not going to eat anything else today, when you're not satiated. So if you're eating the right kind of healthy fats, it's not going to make you gain weight, it's going to satiate you, it can help your lipid panel, your blood monitors of your triglycerides, your high density lipoprotein, which is known as the good cholesterol, the low density lipoprotein, which is the bad one. So it can help stabilize those metrics and those biomarkers to a more healthy level. So we're beyond the fact that it's how many calories you should eat in a day. It's more of the type of calories and how food really is information. Mm-hmm. So if we eat something, our body is trying to decode that chemical or that macronutrient that we put in, and it can turn on a cell pathway and make us feel a certain way, or sleep differently, or even act differently, and even feel differently. Some people report joint pain or brain fog or not feeling good for eating certain types of food. That's not just anecdotal things, that's been proven in the way people respond to certain foods, and that also highlights how there's not one diet for everybody. Some people do well with that keto diet, some do bad. Some people never want to eat meat, some people swear by eating meat. So I think the book will help guide you of finding the right diet, but also taking away some of those false information that's been out there about certain types of fats and certain types of foods. It's more of how much has that food been processed. If it undergoes a high processing amount by adding certain stabilizers for it to stay on the shelf and keep its perishability, that food probably is going to be hard for us to break down day after day, month after month, and it could trigger some problems.
I just wanted to add, because that's really important, and I just recently got an app called the Yuka app, Y-U-K-A, and everybody needs this app. I am completely obsessed. I am not as concerned with calories and fat. I'm, for myself and my 4 kids, I'm more concerned about additives in the food, and this app literally has a scanner on it where you can scan anything with a barcode, and not only foods in the store, but also beauty products, hair products. And I go straight to the additives. It will tell you which ones are high risk, moderate risk, and low risk. And when you click on what the additives are, it will tell you why it's high risk or moderate risk. For example, I have scanned some snacks that I usually get for my kids, and if something's high risk, I click on it. Some of the common things I have seen are it can affect your reproductive system, which is really concerning. It can affect so many things in your body that you would never think of. So it's just like it's a free app. It's really quick. I walk around the supermarket scanning everything, and it's made a big difference and helped me make healthier decisions for myself and my kids. So I just wanted to mention that while we were on the topic of additives, and they can really wreak havoc on your immune system and your body. So now that we've covered diet,
I do want to add, so you mentioned brain fog and joint pain, and I think they are 2 of the biggest issues with women who have undergone treatment. Brain fog and joint pain, and a lot of times we attribute it to the treatment, but as you spoke, now it makes me think how much of it is also attributed to the foods that we're eating.
Definitely.
Yeah.
True. Where when you're receiving some type of therapy for cancer, whether it's chemotherapy, radiation, the goal is to really kill those bad cells, kill the cancer cells. So when that happens, those cells may release certain compounds that could cause brain fog and joint pain. So could it have been the therapy itself just because my cancer cells were dying, maybe gave me that side effect? Or was it the types of food I was eating? You don't know unless you can really look back and say, my diet was so clean at that time. I wasn't eating anything processed. I was eating the same type of whole foods, foods that were just from the earth and Mother Nature and didn't undergo a process in order for it to add flavors and stabilizers, and those type of things definitely are newer in modern technology in the supermarkets, and we realize that it's probably not what's best for us to live the best life we can.
Yes. So I think for many women, I know specifically for mothers of Inspiring Life Together, one of the questions is, how do I manage being thrusted into menopause at the age of 30 or 40 plus? Would you have any suggestions of help for us?
Definitely a challenging and emotional phase in life, even if it's happening naturally. So if it happens suddenly due to removing some parts of the female organ or a side effect of the therapy that you need to overcome the cancer, it's definitely a disturbance that puts the body in imbalance, because estrogen and progesterone have key factors of what they're trying to do for the body each day. Preparation is really key. So once we know we have that diagnosis of the cancer, optimizing your bone mineral density, your bone health, your vitamin D level, and your overall flexibility. Those are probably the three key factors that a woman can do when they say, hey, I might have to get my uterus and ovaries taken out. I might have to take this one medication that's going to put me in menopause. Let me make sure my vitamin D, which is a fat-soluble vitamin but acts more like a hormone in the body, can help stabilize and direct bone health, where weight training and loading the body with some light weights can help bone mineral density. So without estrogen and progesterone in the right harmony, your bones can become weak. That can lead to fatigue. That can lead to muscle stiffness, change the way your posture is, your gait, the way you're moving around, and that can cascade into future problems. So making sure the vitamin D level is healthy, a little bit from the sunlight, where we can convert vitamin D that we make into its active form, or some people, even myself, need some exogenous form. So I'm not against supplements, and that's also this delicate line in the modern Western medical MD society of, you don't need to take a multivitamin, or I don't think those vitamins are going to make a difference. Where that's been disproven now, that patients, more so in the nutritional research, who have a vitamin D level between 60 and 80 get sick less. The reoccurrence of cancer is less. Where normally that biomarker of vitamin D, 29 or less of nanogram per deciliter in our blood, that means you're vitamin D deficient. So some people get their blood tests and they're 30, they're 31. You're okay. You're not okay. You're not deficient. You are not optimized. And then if you get thrown into menopause, you are at risk of poor bone health, muscle weakness, disturbance in sleep. They're all playing into each other. We're optimizing your D, bone health, and flexibility can help the way your body functions in the future.
Oh, thank you.
I feel really blessed because my oncologist is an integrative oncologist, so we can have open conversations about vitamins, but I have had pretty much every other doctor in my life, if I talked about vitamin C or vitamin D, they would laugh and say they don't do anything. My integrative oncologist helps me narrow down, because it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole and then you're taking 20 supplements, and he narrowed it down and said vitamin D was number one on the list. So I just want to encourage everybody that if you don't have a doctor that can have an open conversation about the importance of supplements and help you narrow it down, to you're just going to have to advocate for yourself and do your own research, and maybe find another doctor, which a lot of people don't want to do that. They think the doctor is always right, and doctors are great and they are amazing at what they do, but sometimes they're just not the right fit for you. So if you feel like you need a second opinion, third opinion, you can definitely find a doctor that fits with your lifestyle and your mentality, and you can have an open conversation about things that are not just by the book, straight out of medical school.
So Dr. Sabia, I have one more question, and this is probably a topic that you've touched on in your book. Maybe you'll write another book focusing on the benefits of cold and hot therapy. So I think a lot of people are now more comfortable with the polar plunges, and also with sauna rooms and steam rooms. So can you speak a little bit about the benefit of those?
Definitely gaining some traction in modern society now. You'll see lots of ads come out now with different types of cold plunges that are available for purchase, home saunas, which were only for the wealthy or the few and far between that had access to that by joining a fancy gym. So the science has really evolved, thankfully, with grant funding and big universities able to participate in some of these studies on how exposing the body to different changes in temperature, very cold or very hot, can stimulate certain proteins in the body. Specifically for the cold, it's a cold shock protein, and the heat is a heat shock protein. And those proteins are signaling molecules to turn on certain cells to break down end products that are built up in our brain. So they help detangle certain plaques in our brain when we're exposed to the heat. And that's a big predictor of what patients might be at risk for neurodegenerative disease. So cognitive decline, things like Alzheimer's and dementia. So when we expose the body to heat, specifically sauna, which could be a dry sauna, infrared sauna, but certain high temperatures of at least 160 degree Fahrenheit, maybe a 200 degree Fahrenheit, for short periods of time, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time, it helps disentangle some of those proteins and plaque that build up in the brain and have been proven to decrease the incidence of Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative disease, decrease inflammation in the body, which is a big predictor of a lot of chronic illnesses. And the cold does something similar, just works a little bit more on the vascular system. So the cold shock protein helps with vascular compliance, expandability of blood flow, how a blood vessel can open and close, which will bring the body's own nutrients to certain areas. So when we first expose our body to cold, even if it's a cold shower or a cold bath, not necessarily ice or a polar plunge, that'll release that protein. It also releases another protein in the brain called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, and that helps build new memories, helps deeper sleep, helps clean out certain toxins in the brain. So by stimulating certain compounds in the body from hot and cold, it can help clear away waste products, make our blood vascular system more compliant, help us feel better. There's definite evidence now that we release norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine, the neurotransmitters that help us with mood and sleep when we expose our body to brief periods of these hot and colds. So another part of being in the medical field that's new is this terminology that I first picked up on some of these podcasts, is hormesis, which is a little bit of this painful exposure to very hot, very cold. Expose the body to a little bit of an emotional disturbance can help activate certain pathways in the body that promote healing, that decrease inflammation, that help with sleep, that help with pain. So we knew that inflammation in the body is a sign of redness, pain, and swelling, but chronic low-level inflammation is correlated with a lot of chronic illnesses. So keeping inflammation at a low level is a big predictor of longevity and overall health and wellness.
I would just like to encourage everybody to try different hot and cold therapies. I personally prefer an infrared sauna. I love it. I hate being cold, but I actually love cryotherapy, and it's a very short period of time. I go in the cryotherapy machine for about 2 minutes. It's negative 180 degrees, which sounds insane, but when I get out, I feel amazing. So just because if you hate the cold or hate the hot, that's fine, but I think you should experiment with different therapies because there are so many benefits you can get from it, and you don't necessarily have to be exposed to them for a long period of time.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, we know that just because we don't like something doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Some people don't like to exercise, some people don't like to slow down and calm their minds and stretch and meditate. Some people won't like ice temperature, some people won't like the heat, but our bodies love it. And we are doing this for wellness, right? This is a part of the wellness formula. So, thank you so much, Dr.
Can you
Sabia.
tell us where we can get the book?
Sure. So it's available on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, or you can just Google the Wellness Formula, Michael Sabia, MD, and it's available at other platforms as well, like Google Books or Draft 2 Digital.
So if you are a breast cancer survivor, thriver, or a woman who has been impacted by breast cancer, please follow us on Instagram, and we have multiple events throughout the year. Again, we are going to be beginning a series including information from Dr. Sabia's book. We will be spending some time at Flute in Marlton, New Jersey, enjoying some sauna and some cold plunges as well. All of these things to keep our bodies, minds, and spirits uplifted and well.
Can you share your social media?
Sure. So I'm available on LinkedIn, Facebook, and just my name, Mike Sabia.
Get the book, everybody. The Wellness Formula. Thank you so much.
There we go.
All right.
All right.
Like, eat all the fruits and vegetables and you'll be good. Like, I've been vegetarian since I was 7, and you know, keto, like, that would never work for me, but you made it clear that you have to find what works for you, because what works for you is not going to work for me, and everybody is so unique, and that's really important for people to know, because they think there's one thing and they have to follow it, and when that doesn't work, sometimes they just give up.
Right.
So that's
It's
really
frustrating.
important.
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of good things, and I love that you added that, you know, it might be uncomfortable. Like, you might not like working out. People don't like to eat healthy sometimes, but you know what? It's a lot easier to force yourself to, you know, eat healthier, work out, do all the things we talked about, than to go through cancer treatment.
Exactly. It's a lot easier to do this. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited about this.
What are you
It's gonna be
looking for,
fun.
man?
I have a surgery coming up. I have a hysterectomy. So during my recovery time, this is what I'll be reading.
All right.
Yeah, get my journal together, my plan for when I'm able to get moving again.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah,
Take
you're
your
gonna-
highlighter out, and you can
Yes.
highlight certain sections to
Yes.
reinforce,
Mhm.
like the routine and
Mhm.
what will have a more direct impact on your recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
While we're sitting here with the good lighting, can we just get a couple pictures, professional pictures?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Or-
yeah. Like I'm just gonna switch over.
And as soon as that happened, he started getting all emotional and crying about everything. And I'm like, I think all of my emotions have went to you.
Yeah.
Because I could talk about death, cancer, all these things, and I'm like totally fine. And then he just started getting all weepy.
It's okay. Dick Vermeil is a great football coach. He
Hide
cried
my chair.
at plenty of press conferences.
All right. It's touched on your lap, so that's
He
better.
might
All right. So, what kind of pictures you want me
well,
to?
I'm just saying,
Basically,
like, we're already here. It can't just be video. We need to be able to